I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret. I've seen this drawing that David did, and I don't know if he knows that anybody else has even seen this thing, of the cast of God of War monsters. It's like a napkin drawing.
It's like on the board.
Like
Do you
it has
remember
a
that?
Gorgon on it, Cyclops, and that's it. That's all the characters you need. It's this bestiary of animals drawn on a napkin.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Captain Kuba here, and today I'm finally going to be talking about a topic I've been dying to cover ever since I received my God of War 2 art book. Characters and enemies that never made it into the game. Throughout the making of any game, developers have to make the hard decision of what to keep or what to cut from their game. This can be from almost finished levels to important characters and even small enemies the player encounters throughout his adventure. Ultimately, we have to trust the team made the right decisions when it came to these cuts. And today I'm going to be exploring some interesting characters that would cut from God of War 2. But if you're more interested in learning where the level of Atlantis was going to be located, I suggest you click on this video. Now, for the purpose of today's topic, I've decided to divide these characters into two categories. The I'm glad they were cut category, and the this could have been a really cool inclusion to the game category. Let's begin with the first, Hercules.
Hello, brother.
I think I can speak for most of the God of War community when I say that the Hercules boss fight was arguably one of the best in the series. Everything from his jealous behavior towards his brother, to his clothing, and the weapon he wields simply worked, and I wouldn't dare change it for anything else. But this wasn't the original idea Santa Monica had planned for Hercules. He was originally going to make his appearance during the events of God of War 2 in a rather funny way. Apparently Hercules was not going to be a boss fight. Instead, Kratos would encounter him stuck under a structure as he tried to lift it above his head. For some reason, this would inconvenience Kratos' mission, as he would find a way to drop the structure on him, resulting in his death. While this sounds pretty funny, I'm sure dropping the structure would require a puzzle of some kind. Now, in regards to his design, he wouldn't look anything like the Hercules we know from God of War 3. According to the art book, the team was seriously considering the idea that this Hercules could actually be black. The artist Charlie Wendt took this idea and decided to try out multiple ethnicities for the character, but it eventually returned to a more classical look. The only difference being that this Hercules would have a comb-over hairdo. Yeah, Hercules almost looked like most of our dads. Thank the gods of Olympus this design never left the drawing board. Now the lore behind this next character is sad but equally funny. I present to you Pelops. I could tell you the reason why he had such a deformed body, but you probably wouldn't believe me. Instead, I'm just gonna read word for word what the artist said about him. This poor fellow was chopped to pieces and fed to the gods by his own father, then jigsawed back together after the gods refused to eat him. Even though he never says who these gods are or who the father is, it's very safe to say that he's referring to Kronos and his children. As I'm sure you know, Kronos imprisoned Hades and Poseidon in his belly for fear that they would kill him. Kronos most likely chopped this poor guy into pieces and tried feeding his children with him, but after they refused to eat him, Kronos was forced to vomit him out and then for some reason decided to put him back together. Just try to imagine Kronos playing with his own puke. The illogical nature of Kronos' decision might have been the reason why this character was cut from the game. Now to the second category. For these three entries, I'm really sad the team did not include them in the final game. The first one was going to be a group called the Order of the Titan. The name sounded so interesting to me that I decided to include it in the thumbnail for this video. The name suggests that these characters were the remaining worshippers of the Titans. If you remember, Kronos built the Steeds of Fate for the Sisters of Fate in order to receive a favorable outcome in the Great War against the gods of Olympus. But before this war took place, humans had already been created and were known to worship the Titans. I believe these characters would have been the surviving worshippers of the Titans. According to the art book, these characters were changed to what we now know in the game as the Fate Sentry. One of the reasons they were changed is because these characters didn't fit the Greek motif of the game and also looked like they belong in a horror movie. With this, I agree since this guy looks like Nemesis from Resident Evil. The team tried adding Greek helmets to make them fit with all the other characters, but it just didn't work out. The other reason why they were cut out is a lot more intriguing. Cecil Kim, an artist in the team, said the following. This guy made it to the final, and then a major twist in his storyline came through. Obviously, I don't know what this twist in his storyline was, but I imagine the Order of the Titan had a leader that was going to play an important role in the story. But Corey, or one of the writers of the game, decided to cut him from the story at the last minute along with his army. Chances we'll see these guys ever again are slim, but it's still somewhat possible, especially if Kratos returns to Greece in the next game. Now for this next character, I won't have to put his backstory together, because the artist in charge of creating it did it for me. The enemy I'm talking about is Koterus. I'm not sure if he was going to be a boss fight, or one of the bigger enemies like the Cyclops. All we know is that he was going to have multiple arms and the ability to control electricity. At first, the artist struggled to create this character, so he came up with his own backstory. This is what he says. I imagine that he was chosen by Zeus to aid in the Titan War and was given a portion of Zeus' power to wield fire and lightning bolts. He was promised he would sit at Zeus' side when the battles were over, but upon the war's end he was cast away to the lower parts of the earth, imprisoned in a dark cave. Zeus no longer had need of him. Throughout the years, hidden away and imprisoned, his anger grew. His body reflected the change in his mind as he became more and more feral. He eventually managed to escape, but he had become an animal by this point. And this is the character Kratos accidentally runs into. I should say that this backstory wouldn't automatically have been official lore just because an artist wrote it, but I'm sure if Cory Barlog heard about this backstory, he wouldn't have a problem including it in the game. I'm sure this character was cut from the game due to budget constraints or just not fitting well with the pacing of the story. Now the last character I want to mention is a complete mystery as to what his backstory would have been. I'm talking about the Abyss. He seems to have been a spirit of some kind who wields a curved blade as a weapon. The reason I'm mentioning him is because he looks freaking cool, and also because he's shown very close to the pages regarding the lost level of Sparta. And if you look closely at his design, he seems to be wearing a Spartan helmet. I theorized this might have been a boss battle for the Spartan level. This is Stig Asmussen talking about the lost level of Sparta.
This is almost a complete level, pretty much. I mean, we had a lot of everything from the visuals down to all the scripting of the events and explosions, AI placement. It's very sad that it had to get cut. I remember when I heard about it, I was in denial for a few days, but we made our way through it, and we were all very happy with the other levels, so it's nice that it got to make it onto the lost levels.
This level remains a complete mystery to me, as I don't understand why Kratos would have to go back to the place he grew up in. But if it would have been kept in the final game, I'm sure Kratos would have to defeat a boss of some kind, and the Abyss certainly fits the bill. Once again, I'm just trying my best to put together all of this information in a way that makes sense. If I ever get a chance to talk to Cory Barlog, these are definitely questions that I'll bother him with. But until then, I want to know what you guys think about these characters. Are you sad they didn't make it into the final game? Would you change their backstory a little bit? Whatever your thoughts are, make sure to leave them in the comments section below. As always, I want to thank all of my members for their monthly donations to the channel. I know $2 doesn't seem like much, but you have no idea how much it helps. People like Not Daniel, Zachary Powell, and Imram, sorry if I mispronounced that, to name a few, are the reason I'm able to stay home and work on these videos. I would also like to thank all of my subscribers for liking and sharing my videos. This channel would be nowhere without your support. And with that said, thanks for watching, and remember, go forth in the name of Ragnarok.